We recently crossed the 1,000 patient mark at my clinic. And in that time, we've helped a wide variety of people over 50 to improve their mobility and independence, and I've learned a ton of lessons from it. In today's video, I'm going to reveal 5 of my favorite lessons from helping 1,000 people over 50, so hopefully you can use some of these lessons to improve your health too. The first lesson I learned from helping all these people is that stiff joints get better with repeated movements. Now, many people assume that once they've got arthritis in one of their joints, it's a life sentence, and the only thing they can do is go for surgery. But that's not the case. I took one of my patients, a lady with knee arthritis, from only 60 degrees of knee bend right up to 130 degrees of knee bend in a number of months, just with easy exercises. Now, you can do exactly the same thing, not just with your knee, but with your hip, your shoulder, and your lower back as well. And this is how the process looks. The first thing you want to do is work out which directions your joint is stiff in. I'm going to show you with my knee just to give you an idea of the process. So the knee moves in 2 directions. It can bend and it can straighten, and we can lose movement in either of these 2 directions. Let's say you've decided that as you bend your knee, it's stiff, and you can tell it's stiff because you can bend the opposite one much further. Now, if that's the case, you can improve that range of knee bend with some simple range of motion exercises. Here's a great one to try. So if you want to get your knee bending more, you bring it up to its maximum and then take a towel and tuck it around the front of your leg like this, and just gently increase that range of knee bend and then slide back down. So you're coming up and down, and this kind of rhythmical, repetitive motion, moving it just into stiffness and then back out again, can make a massive difference over time. No, you're not going to see huge changes in one day, but over the course of a month, you can see major changes if you come back to it day on day on day. Now, I'd recommend spending about 5 minutes a day working on the stiff joint to improve range of motion, and that can be a brilliant recipe for improving stiffness. Let's say that your knee couldn't straighten, and you try and straighten it, but it's locked like this, and you can get the other one perfectly flat. That means you've lost extension. You're going to do exactly the same thing, but in the opposite direction. For this one, you're going to take your same towel, you can fold it over to make it nice and chunky, and then tuck the towel underneath your heel so that you've now got a gap between your knee and the bed. Now with this one, you can use your hands, just tuck your hands gently on top of your knee and push down until you find stiffness, and then relax. And again, down and relax and down. I'm only using 10 or 20% of my effort. This is not a big effort. I'm not trying to slam my knee down into the bed. I'm just giving it a little bit of gentle encouragement to increase that range of motion. And after a few minutes of doing that, you'll find that your knee will be closer to the bed. Now, you can do exactly the same thing with your hip. If you've got a problem bringing it up, you can do the same kind of thing, mobilizing the hip up. If there's a problem going out, you can do it that way. You can do the same with your shoulder, just like I have with my sticky shoulders. And you can make a big difference to all areas of your body. But the first step is working out what's stiff and then dedicating some time to work on it. The second lesson I learned is to prioritize strengthening over stretching. Now, strengthening is by far the best way of improving your mobility and your independence, but it can also improve your flexibility as well. If you contrast that with stretching, yes, stretching can improve your flexibility, but it won't make you stronger, and it might not make you more independent either. So by strengthening, you can tick all the boxes in the minimum amount of time. There's a common myth that says that the only way to improve flexibility is through stretching, but if you strengthen the muscles in a specific way, you can also improve their flexibility whilst getting stronger. Let me show you one of my favorite exercises to help to illustrate this point. This is called the Romanian deadlift. And for it, you just need a barbell or a weighted bar. I'm going to use a stick just for a demonstration purposes. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to slowly lengthen the hamstring muscles by bending forward at the hips. So with this exercise, you put a slight bend in your knee, and then keeping your back nice and straight, you run the bar down the front of your legs until you feel a stretch in your hamstrings. Now, what we've done here by going very slowly down, I'll show you again, it's this 4-second slide down the front of the legs. We've very slowly lengthened the muscle whilst resisting the force of gravity. Now, this does two things. Number one, it makes us really, really strong because the muscle is lengthening whilst it's contracting. And then the second thing it's done is it's improved our flexibility because we're taking it right to that stretched point, which means that if we do that repetitively over time, the muscle fascicle lengths increase, which means you gain in flexibility as well as strength. So with this movement, to put it all together, you slide the bar down the front, get to the stretched point, and then you contract back up again. And you would do this repeatedly, probably somewhere between 6 and 15 times for this exercise. Works really, really well. But this exercise is just one demonstration. You can do this for basically any muscle group in the body, provided you know how. Before we go any further, I just want to tell you about a very special bonus I've created for viewers of this channel. It's called the Complete Guides to Building Muscle and Strength over the age of 50. And if you're someone who is a little bit confused about how to go about starting the process of building muscle and strength, you don't know what equipment to use or what exercises to choose, this is perfect for you. It's an exclusive 25-minute video that you can't find anywhere else, where I teach you all the ins and outs of building muscle and strength specific for people over the age of 50. So it's one of the best things I've created. I'm giving it totally for free to viewers of this channel. All you need to do is scroll down below this video. There's a link in the description where you can sign up. I'll send you the video straight away and you can get started. It's some of my best info, and if you use it, I hope you enjoy. The third lesson I learned is that strengthening the calves makes a huge difference to walking. Now, the calf muscles down here are like your propulsion when you walk. They help to propel you forward. They're like your engine. And when your calves get weak, your walking can really suffer. Now, there's research out there to show that older people who have even slightly weaker calves walk 26% slower than age-matched controls who have normal strength calves. And slow walking is associated with a whole host of really nasty health problems. So we don't want that to happen to you. And I made a massive difference to many of my patients just by giving them calf strengthening. Now, the best thing about this is you can strengthen the calves quite easily, and we can use the technique we just learned to also lengthen them at the same time. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. We're going to do the slow heel raise as an exercise. And all you need for this is your bottom step on your staircase and some banisters to hold on to. So I want you to stand on your bottom step with the front half of both feet on the step and the heels hanging off. And it's really important here that we want our heels to drop down beneath the step as far as we can, and you should feel a stretch in your calves at that bottom point. That's your indication that you're in the right starting position. Then all you're going to do is push up high onto your tiptoes and then start to come straight back down, but really nice and slow. Exactly like we did in the previous example with the Romanian deadlift. We're going to go up nice and quick, and then the lengthening, slow lowering phase should take about 4 seconds to reach that lengthened point. Only stop when you feel a stretch in your calves, and then you push back up again. And you can keep repeating this up to about 30 times. Now, if you're one of the many people who is pretty strong already, you can do 30 of these and you don't really feel like much is happening, try doing it on one leg. It makes it much tougher. So drop your heel down and then push up and then slowly lower back down, really exaggerating that lengthening phase. I'll show you on this leg just so you can probably see it better. So push up like that, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then find that stretch. I can feel it now, and then I push up again. Now, doing that as a combination is a fantastic way to get stronger calves and to improve your walking, and it really helped many of my patients this year. The fourth lesson I learned is that tiny movements can often build the foundations for major gains in mobility. When I was just getting started, I always used to jump to big compound movements like the squat to help people get more mobile. And yes, those movements can be very effective. But this year, more and more, I've learned that tiny little movements and tweaks to people's positions can make a massive difference over time. When you have a problem with your mobility, sometimes a subtle issue can be the cause of a big problem. So doing big movements sometimes fails to address this tiny subtle issue. It could be a muscle imbalance, it could be a muscle that's not activating properly, it could be one of the tiny joints that's become stiff. For these little subtle problems that can lead to big issues with mobility, sometimes a tiny movement is all that's needed to make a difference. Here are some examples of some tweaks we made for people in the clinic that worked really well. We massively improved a lady's walking by getting her to do a simple weight transfer in standing like this. So just taking her body weight over her right foot, then her left. Very subtle, but very effective if you're having problems shifting your weight from right to left when you walk. We helped a man's neck and shoulder pain through a simple shift to his posture using an exercise called deep neck flexion, which looks kind of like this and is one of the ones I teach in my book. And learning a tiny movement just like this to switch on the core helps one of my patients improve her back pain by more than 50%. The fifth lesson I learned from helping all those people with their mobility is that you should do whatever you can to avoid losing it. Now, this was probably the biggest lesson I learned of all. And that lesson is how much easier it is to maintain what you already have than it is to regain what you've lost. Now, we've seen this time and time again in the practice. Someone has not been exercising and they've gone downhill so fast, but it's taken them months and months and months just to get back to where they were. And contrast that with someone who just does a little bit every couple of days, they're able to often keep themselves at a really good level, despite not putting in that much work. Now, this is reflected in the research literature as well, in the strength world. And some research is showing that it takes 3 times as much effort and volume to build new muscle than it does to maintain what you already have. And I would say from experience that that's probably about right when it comes to mobility as well. It takes 3 times as much effort to regain it if you've lost it than it does to just stay at a level. This means that every day counts in the fight to remain fit, active, and mobile. But the good news is even tiny little efforts at the time can make a massive difference when they compound over time. Doing something every day is much better than doing a whole load, but only on 1 day per week. And here's one really important thing to keep in mind. If you feel like you're struggling to progress and you're putting in all this effort but not really getting anywhere, just be assured that you are doing something amazing. You're stopping yourself from going downhill. And there's a heck of a lot to be said for maintaining as opposed to going downhill, because when you start, it can happen very, very fast. I hope that was useful and you gained something from it. Do drop a comment below and let us know, and I'll see you on the next video.